Mumonkan, Case 29. The Sixth Patriarchs, Your Mind Moves. The wind was flapping a temple flag, and two monks started an argument. One said the flag moved. The other said the wind moved. They argued back and forth, but could not reach a conclusion. The sixth patriarch said, "It is not the wind that moves. It is not the flag that moves. It is your mind that moves." The two monks were awestruck. Mumon's comment: "It is not the wind that moves. It is not the flag that moves. It is the mind that moves." How do you see the patriarch? If you come to understand the matter deeply, you will see that the two monks got gold when buying iron. The patriarch could not withhold his compassion and courted disgrace. Mumon's verse: wind, flag, mind moving, all equally to blame. Only knowing how to open his mouth, unaware of his fault in talking. Hi. Good afternoon, and you may move, adjust your posture. I'm going to get a drink of water. First, thank you, Shinge Roshi. Thank you, Sangha. Just take a moment. I'm losing it already. Just take a moment and look around at people near you and this floor. We're the luckiest beings alive right now, I think. We were chanting just now. We chant all the time. We walk here and there. We clappers, ding dong, Inkins. But this is the real deal. You could be at Shogenji in Japan. You can be a Daibosatsu on the mountain in Livingston Manor, Beecher Lake. You could be anywhere. The Zendo is here. But this is the transmission we talk about. I'll be getting into this koan, the sixth patriarch, sixth Zen master, to be more current. Shinge Roshi can trace her lineage back to Shakyamuni Buddha. And we see them as distant historical figures sometimes. I know I do. That these people, how can you emulate them? How can you even approach some of their enlightenment, awareness, depth of knowledge, whatever you want to call it? How can you? We're just these bumpkins, as Edo Roshi put it. We're walking around mad at some driver. It's too cold. There's too much sand over there, by the way. But now we're tracking it everywhere. I'm sorry, Jishas. But there's always something that makes us feel that we're far removed from these Zen masters. Even the name Zen master, how can I be? Shinge Roshi says this over and over and over. Last Teisho, she was saying it. We read it, we mouth it, whether we really believe it or not. How can I? I yelled at my daughter. Oh my gosh, I'm a bad person. How can I be the sixth pig? How can I be a patriarch? How can I be an enlightened being with all this? But they're here. Look next to you. There's Navzad, the wonderful. There's, Choen. Well, she's Subhuti, so she doesn't count. But tomorrow you'll hear Subhuti. But that's the point. I don't know why. We can think about why we feel this way. We can think about, it's my upbringing, it's my dad's fault for scolding me all the time, or, whatever we're conditioned. I guess it doesn't matter why. It's like the parable of, someone shot with a poison arrow. Who shot me? And the person's running around. I want to find who shot me, and meanwhile they die. Just get the arrow out, take care of the matter, and then go get them. No, but we're caught up in this reasoning of why, but really, I think everyone's had that feeling that we're brushing our robe sleeves with these so-called great people, and they are just like us. I'm going to read a little bit later about Hui Neng, the Chinese for Daikon Zenji. Tonight we'll chant Teidai Denpo, the lineage, and you'll see our teacher, Edo Shimano Roshi, all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha and before. This is not a beginning and end type thing. This is a forever thing. And we forget that. We're in session. When aren't we in session? We just call it session because it's more organized maybe. But you shouldn't see it as, I'm going to go home now and, kick my dog or whatever you want to do. Sessions all the time. Crows are having session today. Did you hear them during Dokusan? Ha, ha, ha! Namu Daibo Sa. The trees are always meditating. They're always in Zazen. I saw a squirrel. They love this place. It's really fat because we offer, leftovers outside. This black squirrel just perched in a perfect seiza position on the it's funny, I know. It's on the railing out there by the Tenzo, which this story will get to. I'm fortunate enough to finally see the workings of the Tenzo here due to a karmic situation where Joraku was just not feeling well for Sesshin. But, of course, I'm purport to be this steady, no, maybe you see right through that. But I was very anxious about it. Keisho was wonderful enough to help me, and I've been at, DBZ, and I'm practicing for a while, but, we're human beings, I guess is what I'm getting at. These people, Huineng, Buddha, Maitreya Buddha, the future Buddha, what are all these big names? They're just human beings. They're walking around with the same aches and pains and maybe the same anxiousness. But what we have in common with them, and actually every being, whether they know it or not, whether they're wrapped up so thoroughly in their ego, they don't know they're on the path, they're on the way. It's not us making that decision. It seems like the first time you don't have to knock, just come in to Roshi's entryway, 111. Oh, I shouldn't tell her address. But, that was me going there back then. I read a lot of books, and I'm ready to find a teacher. I. I think everybody here feels that. It's not up to us to decide that. But it is at the same time. We can't put it into words. We can't not put it into words. We were just talking this morning. Roshi said, thank you for all you do. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything. And then, being a Roshi, you're not doing anything. So that not can go on forever. And I think the Indian philosophy does that, the negation, not. And eventually you come right back to this, wherever you were. I don't know. But that's the best answer. I don't know. You don't. And it's kind of fun you don't. It takes a lot of pressure off you. I think if you just don't know. Doesn't count in the Zendo, by the way. If you're an officer, you better know. But, so this is, you see, I was kind of choking up because, that mind that moves. That's the mind that moved us to come to this, sit down next to each other and support each other. And I was, setting up things. Daigon was working, again, endlessly here. Other people were, the Tenzos, everybody that came is working hard to produce this atmosphere, to build this. Not to mention, since next year will be the 30th anniversary. Is my math right? Of the Zendo. 1996, 2026. Who's good at math? 30. Okay, 30 more years, that's perfect. We've got about 30 people at this session now too. And, but that, since that day and before, when the Onondaga people were using this as a thoroughfare, as their 690, they didn't have any dumb overpass that has to be torn down. They just used this creek. They lived here. They produced this, like we're helping to keep the fire going of this intense practice here that started even before the Onondaga peoples, before this earth here was here, but it's here, and you can feel it out there. We can't do outdoor kinhin, but you guys have been going outside, but it's inside, it's out, so whatever. These distinctions are just distinctions. So this, you can feel that palpable energy that is stored. This is like a big lithium battery that we all, put our USB, I'm just talking nonsense, but we're just creating this Nen. Look up on the altar. Does anybody know what that little plaque is called? It's very important. It's on the right side of the altar. Ihai. And that represents, this isn't like a quiz. Do you know why it's on the, sometimes we see them on the left side, sometimes we see them on the right side. This happens to be on the right side, facing the altar.
The person was ordained?
Yes. And the person's name was Sensei Richard Rudin. I talk about Nen. And Roshi, correct me, I don't know if I have the story 100%, but he was an early practitioner at Shoboji and student of Edo Roshi's, practicing alongside Shinge Roshi in New York, Manhattan, 62nd Street East. And he got in a horrific car accident where he was burned badly. And he was on this thread of life. Edo Roshi and the other Sanghas chanted Kanzeon, which we chanted this morning, over and over. The doctor I think he even heard the doctor over. Richard Senshin was at a point where he still heard him say, he's not going to make it. But through his determination and this Nen, this is not a joke. This happened. This is real. These vibrations, this Nen, whatever you want to call it, he lived a fairly lengthy life after, it was bad. He lost his foot. And so when we chant, we had a list of people that are ill, chant it all the time, even if you're not saying it out loud. Whether we think this is the worst of times, the best of times, I know this is starting to sound Shakespearean, but these are challenging times. We hear this, that we're divided, there's always terrible stuff happening. And we can say this is the worst ever. Well, of course it is, because it's happening now. People, I don't know why my daughter is starting to listen to country music. It's good. It's got melody, but it's always this stuff they're talking about, the good old days all the time. And I know what, I'm getting into a little bit too much, and I'm sorry, but I remind her, what are the good old days, I think we selectively remember the good old days. I love the good old days when someone took care of me all the time. It was great. My mama would feed me and I didn't have to make food. That was a great old days. But, they're talking about some idyllic time that they forget, which may be good, but you can't forget the hardships. This is our practice here. This is what we're going to talk about a little bit, how this Huineng, the suffering. Again, we've got it so good. We've got food. We don't have to worry about anything. And maybe that's bad. In fact, with Mumon's verse is, talking about the so-called compassion of the sixth patriarch to talk to these monks. It's like, they were trading in iron, arguing back and forth. The flag moves, the wind moves. And here's gold, here's a coin, ching, this is what's really happening. And they felt it, at least they got an inkling of it. So, but I think we've all been, no one escapes suffering. That's the first noble truth. You don't escape it. I started getting anxious about this Tenzo matter. It's so simple, but it's not, but so I embraced it. I'm going to be anxious. Go ahead. Have at it, whatever's going on in my chemistry and my upbringing and my conditioning. Let this matter take care of it by being it. My knees hurt. Be 100% hurt knees then. We've all said this. We all know it. Suffering, growth, every major stage in this human body is accompanied by pain, your teeth come in, not that you remember that, but that hurts. Kids are crying a lot, it's painful, but you get teeth, you can chew things now, yay. There's a lot of good things to chew. And then, your bones grow too fast, your teenage years, it's painful. But it brings you right here, it brings you back. I'm kneeling now because my hip is messed up, but it's keeping me awake. On the cushion. There's always a silver lining. But this is amazing. Hui Nung, we've studied we didn't complete anything, it's never done, but the Platform Sutra was one of the first works. It was a different translation. The one we read was by Red Pine. I love that name. But mine was different, but it was pretty good. And when I was doing reading, before I met Shinge Roshi and this wonderful Hoenji Syracuse Sangha. So I was doing a lot of reading, but he was born, in a bad situation. His father died when he was 3 years old. He probably still remembered it, but it was said that his father was an important official, and he was banished to his own village, and he died there. And so Hui Nung grew up in poverty. These stories, whether they're true or false, it paints a picture of where, what happened to him. And he probably, they think he was cutting firewood. He was spending a lot of time in the forest, gathering wood to support his mother, who was grieving. Obviously it was a bad situation for him. They didn't send him to school. He couldn't read. He had no formal education except just what he heard from people. He's probably in an isolated village. Maybe he brought the firewood once to a town to sell. I don't know exactly, but he did, because with this, his karma, and like we said, is it our decision that we came here? It is, but it isn't. But something drew him to an area, and he heard someone, a lay Buddhist, reading the Diamond Sutra. Tomorrow everyone here has heard it, but you've never heard it. You realize that every time you hear it, you've never heard it before, and we'll never hear it again tomorrow. Wait, that didn't work. But so the diamond, the heart of truth, the diamond, it cuts through everything. So he heard a line of this lay Buddhist who had, so he can first sort of encounter the Dharma in this way. He already had in the forest, in solitude, probably had these, why am I, he was a human, like I just said, and he was probably wondering, why am I, my dad died, I barely remember him, I'm cutting firewood, this is, I don't have much food to eat, my mother is just beside herself with grief, this is not a great life, I'm not going to school with the other kids, whatever. And so I'm trying to remind myself all the time that, that these are us, these people are us. So he heard this one line, and this was the translation in what we'll hear tomorrow. And this is, All bodhisattvas, lesser and great, should develop a pure, lucid mind and not depending on sound, flavor, touch, odor, or any quality. A bodhisattva should develop a mind that alights on nothing whatsoever. And at those words, he had a deeper understanding, maybe an awakening. There's all these words to describe it. So he asked the lay Buddhist, like, where did you hear this sutra? And he said, it was the Hung Zhen. Am I pronouncing that wrong? I tried to, the good thing about the internet is it gives you pronunciations. I wanted to pronounce these names correctly. Hung Zhen, it's spelled in different ways. Hung Zhen, the fifth patriarch, was giving talks, Teisho. So this lay Buddhist said, you should visit him. And so he sought out this great teacher. So Huineng went to visit the master Hung Zhen, and that's Gunin Daiman, and this the fifth patriarch tonight in the lineage will chant Gunin Daiman. So Hung Zhen learned that Huineng was an illiterate, unschooled person. So when he first met with the teacher, with Hung Zhen, he sort of tested him, hey, you're a commoner from the south. You're a barbarian. How could you hope to become a Buddha? Huineng replied, a barbarian is only apparently different from you. But there's no distinction concerning our Buddha nature. So Hung Zhen knew and recognized that he did have sort of a, beginning awareness, understanding of what Buddha nature is, what Dharma nature is, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But because, monasteries are with a bunch of human beings, and I was at two different monasteries, and there's different levels of people there of understanding, and there's egos, and so the fifth patriarch knew that maybe it's not a good idea to throw him in with the other monks right now, and because he's just got here, he's illiterate from the south, which I guess was a bad thing. We always have south sides of places that, I don't know why it's so bad, but at any rate, but he knew that maybe it's better off put him in the Tenzo for now and work with him as a student, but don't, So he thought that was a good idea. So, Huineng, of course, said, "Hi!" Went to the Tenzo and worked hard, and I guess it was better than cutting wood, but he was, fitting in and feeling good. But at one point, Hung Zhen knew that he was going to die. Some great masters can actually predict their own day of death, or he knew it was drawing near, so he wanted to find a successor. And he thought maybe Huineng was a good idea, but again, being this new student, and so he concocted this idea of a test, of a way to bring out the understanding of his monks by having them write a verse, a gatha, a poem, to show them, showing their intuitive understanding of their own true nature. So Shinzu was the head monk, perhaps, but he was a well-established monk at the temple, and they were everybody's favorite, he's gonna get it. And he wrote a gatha on the wall. I don't know where they posted it, but and his poem went like this. Again, there's different translations, and I hope this one's adequate. Our body is the Bodhi tree, and our mind a mirror bright. Carefully we polish it hour by hour, and let no dust alight. And all the monks said, that's really good. We have no chance. So they didn't even bother. They just went back to their sitting and trying to, they just felt that this was the winning one, and said. But Hongzhen said, that verse is pretty good, but it doesn't demonstrate, a true understanding. It's more of a, it's good, but it doesn't show complete depth of oneness, of awakening. So sit more, and when you're ready, submit another gatha. So he was probably disappointed. No, you hear that little ding-a-ling? It's kind of like that. And then but just sit. Okay, just sit and give up. So he took that advice. He started sitting, but in Shenzhou, interestingly enough, it felt that there was this sort of this time, again, my history's bad, and maybe it's not. Again, this is really just surface, and you probably know a lot more than I do, and if not, then do research about the northern school, the southern school of Chan, which became Zen. These these patriarchs represent patriarchs from these Zen masters from Bodhidharma. So of course, there's the Indian important masters as well, so-called patriarchs. They happen to be men. So I hate that term. We're kind of changing. They are. At any rate, so at this time, there was people that believed in like the Shenzhou gradual attainment. You work at the various, like when you take the precepts, I'm going to work on anger today. I'm going to gradually, get deep into my awakening, my awareness, my, connect, to see, my true nature. So gradually get there. Whereas Huineng was like, it's right now. He had something when he heard that beautiful line from the Diamond Sutra, had something, lightning struck, whatever, something that turned his whole logical mind upside down. So he believed, belief is a weird word, but he had experience of so-called sudden awakening or immediate awareness awakening. And remind me, I had a similar, nothing like Huineng, but here I go again, saying that I'm not like him, but we are. So let's erase that. But well before I was doing Zazen with a group, I did a lot of Zazen, and which I didn't realize and we all kind of maybe backtrack going, when I walked around those forests, I wasn't there. The forest was just there. Whatever, we've had these times of Zazen and Kinhin before we called it these names. So I collected insects every day, and I was outside every day, and I just couldn't believe how beautiful things were. And, but anyways, I started reading, and I would start with the popular stuff first, the Alan Watts, the psychedelic stuff, and then I got deeper, and so I got the Platform Sutra, the Diamond Sutra, and so I had a copy of the Diamond Sutra, and this line, I remember where I was sitting on my parents' porch, where I was living at the time, and it was a sunny summer day, reading the Diamond Sutra, having a cup of tea, whatever, I don't know, maybe my dog was sitting there, and it was clear as a bell still to this moment. World Honor One. This is Subhuti. Don't want to take away too much. So this is a spoiler alert. You've heard this before. No, you haven't. But anyways, World Honored One. Having listened to this teaching, I receive and retain it with faith and understanding. This is not difficult for me, but in ages to come, in the last 500 years, if there are men and women coming to hear this teaching, who receive and retain it with faith and understanding, they will be persons of most remarkable achievement. And why? This is what got me. Because they will be free from the idea of an ego entity, free from the idea of a personality, free from the idea of a being, and free from the idea of a separated individuality. And why? Because the distinguishing of an ego entity is erroneous. Likewise, the distinguishing of a personality or a being or a separated individuality is erroneous. Consequently, all those who have left behind every phenomenal distinction are called Buddhas. So I remember that. I had to put it down. Something that rich, how, it's like, you know, you have fudge. Do you eat a whole tray of it? No. Well, sometimes. But this stuff, every word that we say here is so incredibly imbued with beauty and this the reality of things, this simpleness of this practice. Do we really know? I mean, I think I've had those times where you're walking around like, I'm a human being, I'm walking around, but we don't know nothing, man. I'm sorry, but we're breathing, and that's why we focus on our breath, because it's automatic. It's sort of our true nature to breathe. Imagine if we had to consciously take each breath. There'd be a lot fewer people, because they'd be tied up in all kinds of thoughts about, I got to get to work. I forgot to breathe again. So all the stuff we do in our bodies is enlightenment, you know, digesting food, and, you know, I can go on and on. It's automatic. So, you know, this remarkable moment in time in this universe of these we think separated beings walking around, you know, really wake up to that. It's I hear people talking about miracles. There's one of these, this incredibly terrible situation that is happening over and over again. It's been happening from time immemorial, but now it's exacerbated by climate change. You know, these fires that are raging, not just in Los Angeles, but Canada, everywhere. One of the people said, "Oh, their house was spared. It was a miracle." Does it? You know, it is. I would be grateful that my house didn't burn down, and, you know, be sad that others did. But we throw this word around, miracle, that it's got to be something way beyond just taking a step or just taking a bite of cabbage from today's lunch, or anything we do. That's the miracle. So, you know, just escape. So back to the story. This is a great Huineng. Asked another monk, because he couldn't read it. He saw these characters, kanji characters on the wall or wherever it was posted, and had another monk recite it to him. And so he went and dictated, "Could you put this up, please?" Because he felt the same way as Hongzhen, that this wasn't quite there. It was a good movement towards understanding and deepening of awakening. So this was his verse. "There is no Bodhi tree, nor standa of a mirror bright, since all is void. Where can the dust alight?" I'll read it again. "There is no Bodhi tree, nor stand of a mirror bright, since all is void. Where can the dust alight?" Hongzhen read that. I kind of knew that if the word got out that this Huineng, this guy from the south, this barbarian that works in the Tenzo, was going to be his Dharma heir. With this verse, kind of proved it. That was the whole contest, because the poor Hongzhen was, you know, on his way out soon. He felt like he was going to pass onto the next life. He recommended for Huineng to flee. You know, here, take the robe and bowl, which is supposed, you know, the transmission of Dharma, Dharma to mind transmission. It was said that this robe and bowl was Bodhidharma's. So he put him on a ferry and sent him south. Maybe it was a good thing now to go south, but because this other monk, I'm sorry, I'm taking a moment, Shenzu, sort of had a bunch of friends in the monastery that, you know, felt that he was the rightful heir. He eventually was given transmission. But so this ties in with another koan with Hung Jen involved. Was case 23. This is another remarkable. They're all unbelievable, but this is another one involving Hung Jen, and kind of like the tying in with the idea that this gradual. We're seeking something. We want to get something. What? Again, it can't be that simple, right? It can't just be a bird singing outside or us taking a step or us eating some cabbage. It can't be that. No. I remember when I was a little kid, the first New Year's Eve, my parents said, yes, you can stay up at midnight. You see the new year in. I went to the window at midnight, waiting for all these flashes of light and just, it's the new year. I was so disappointed. It was just another second going by. It was still dark out, and I was very tired too, and got grumpy. But nothing happened. Shut up. Go to bed. But so, don't be surprised that when you hear those crows, you start tearing up a bit, because this is an amazing thing. We're still breathing. This Senshin Richard Rudin is with us at this session. Everybody we chant for. We're not limited. Think, this dualistic world. This is the title of this koan. Think neither good nor evil. So as I said, he was told to flee because he might be, getting in trouble with some of the other monks. So Myo in this koan was a monk at the monastery. He had been a general in the army and became a monk. There was a former army person at Shogenji when I was there, and he was pretty intense. But he was still there for the Dharma, and he was really, get with it, Gensan, which I was really stumbling and fumbling around. He had a heart of gold because they were all there to understand this great matter. So the sixth patriarch was pursued by the monk Myo as far as Taiyu Mountain. The patriarch, seeing Myo coming, laid the robe and the bowl on a rock and said, "This robe represents the faith. It should not be fought over. If you want to take it away, take it now." And Myo knew deep inside that this wasn't something that you just, get as a material object. But he tried to move it, but it was as heavy as a mountain. He couldn't. The gravity of this situation, literally, and it wouldn't budge. He was faltering. He faltered and trembled, and he cried out, "I came for the Dharma, not for the robe. I beg you, please give me your instruction." So he recognized Huineng's, awareness. So Huineng, the patriarch, said, "Think neither good nor evil." And here it is. At this very moment, what is the original self of monk Myo? You ask yourself that all the time. That's the no knowing and the miracle. What is the original self of the monk Myo? So at these words, Myo was directly illuminated. What? His whole body was covered in sweat. He wept and bowed and said, "Besides the secret words and secret meaning you have now revealed to me, is there anything else deeper? Anything else?" Patriarch said, "What I have told you is no secret at all. When you look into your own true self, whatever is deeper is found right there." Counting exhalations, breathing, that's right there. Myo said, "I was with the monks under Obai," who is the Hongjian in this Chinese, "for many years, but could not realize my true self. But now, receiving your instruction," I love this line, "I know it's like a person drinking water and knowing whether it's cold or warm." Just think about that for a minute. Oh, ooh, nice and cold. Oh, it's warm. How do you quote unquote know that? I mean, we have those words. It's cold. It's warm. But what is cold? What is warm? What is yellow, green, red? What are they? We get caught up in these words. It's just. So, then he went on to say, "My lay brother, you are now my teacher." But honoring his current teacher, Obai, he said, "No," Vedrik said, "if you say so, but let us both call Obai our teacher. And be mindful and treasure, and hold fast to what you have attained." I'm sorry, you can move around. I keep forgetting to take a drink of water. So, when you see something outside of yourself, if you see something inside of yourself, just wonder who's or what is seeing it or hearing it. And I always come back to those lines if I'm troubled, or come back to your breath. That's a sutra right there. And then just remind myself too that it's okay. I was anxious. I was like, I've been practicing since 1990. I shouldn't be anxious. I should be overcoming these things. And that's just a big mistake in your thinking. That's also making it more, compounding it. Just look at it. We're human beings. Huingyang, Rinzai. These great people. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we heard from Roshi during the opening. How can I be like him? Or how can I be like Ruth the Supreme RBG. How can I be like these people? How can I be like Obama, Michelle Obama? How can I be like these people are great? They're doing so much. We're doing it. We're doing it. Give ourselves some credit. And then that gives you strength, because then, I'm just wasting my time. I'm going to be this petty person forever. Okay, that's fine too. That's still an enlightened petty person, but the littlest thing. Nikyu, and I know Saigyo, great monks here, told that's the parable of the bird. And speaking of fires, we have this 100-mile-an-hour winds. These fires are raging, and there's people with chemicals and water. And there's one little bird taking a drink of water and then flying over the fire and then bloop, bloop, dropping a drop of water and going back. Bloop. And someone asked the bird, "What? This is senseless. You're never going to do anything to stop this fire." And he goes, "But at least I'm trying."